Hey, this is going to be a quick demonstration on threads, executors, and runnables. It's just a very simple demonstration. This is my main class. I'm going to be calling this, which implements runnable, and it's just very simple. Just has a thread that we're running off of. That's not even necessary. But I'm just starting my constructor here, and then I have my run method. And in my run method, all I'm doing is I'm calling this object and I'm calling this method, and I'm feeding in the name that's fed in for my thread. This is my object. I'm just implementing some algorithms here, and I'm doing this because it takes a little bit of time. I'm trying to demonstrate how you can still have things going on while you have some thread off in the background doing something. So this is meant to run for a longer period of time. It's just encrypting a bunch of hashes, random hashes, and then feeding them into a list, and then I feed that list into an array. So basically what I'm doing is I'm starting a thread and I'm feeding this class type into the thread, an object or an instance of this class, and I'm giving the thread a name of thread 1. And when I start this, this is going to run, and it's going to run off this static method, and I made everything in here static on purpose so that I could still read what's going on in here while this is doing its thing. So we start it, and it starts running that method in oddball object, which will keep running. I think it runs for maybe 15, 20 seconds or something. I have it sleeping. I have the thread of this class sleeping for about a half a second. Mostly because this is going to print off some things, and I don't want this to print off while that's printing things off. So I'm giving it a second to start that before I start printing off some menu. So it's basically saying, hey, while we're doing things, what would you want to do? And it just gives the user an option to select various options, and it just repeats that over and over. I'm going to have it sleep for a second after every input. That way it can give this a chance to say that it's done before it repeats again. And then afterward, we're going to print off all the hashes. So let's see this in action here. So we can see thread 1 is asking me to do things. That's listed right here. And so it's running, and so it looks like it finished before I could answer anything. So I could just put in some answer here. It's looking for an integer, and then it'll be done. It prints off all the hashes that it was able to put into the array. So if we run it again, then I can just answer over and over, and it'll just wait a second before each time. And meanwhile, see, there we go. Now it was waiting a second, and before asking me again, it finished and then just printed everything out for me. So at this point, when it was waiting, this thread finished doing its thing in oddball object, and then when it got to this while loop, it saw that the hashes object inside of this, or the hashes array inside of this, was no longer 0, so it exited and then was able to print off the hashes. So the purpose behind this demonstration is mostly to show that you can have threads off doing other processes without interrupting the user experience. So if you have an expensive operation, for some reason, you shouldn't have very many expensive operations, but if for some reason if you have an expensive operation, you don't want to have to wait for that operation to finish before the user can proceed to do other things, you can throw that thread off and have it do its thing, and then when it comes back, you can have the user check, oh, yep, it looks like it's done, let's proceed. So just a quick demonstration. Let me know if you have any questions.